So as always, we'll do sending and receiving loving kindness. The language I would suggest today, although you can find the words that are arising out of you and that feel true to this moment, is may I be a gateway of compassion. May I be a gateway of compassion. Breathe it in and out. The belly and the body. A heartfelt wish. Making yourself a gateway of compassion. And then as you're ready, if you're ready, you can begin to extend it to others here in the Sangha or Zendo. May you too be a gateway of compassion. Make sure you breathe it in as it's being sent to you and breathe it out so it's a big, round, empty, full, boundless circle of compassion. And then you can continue to extend it as far as your imagination will take you, which is boundless. May all beings know and be gateways of compassion. May all beings know boundlessly the open gate of compassion. It's a heartfelt wish, all inclusive. May all beings know and be a gateway of compassion. And then we'll bring that prayer, that wish, right back into this very body, heart, place on the earth where you find yourself. Breathing in and out, we'll extend it to these Sangha members. The well-being of Wayne Overton, Subhana, Woody Marin, Indra Crane, Joy Bishop, Carol Horn, Ben Clip, Margot Clip, Carol Wolter, Linda Smrella, Ushi Schnell, Joni Goldsmith, Barry Goldsmith, Rachel Davidge, Carol Cook, Jim Mayer, Sue Ann Crane, the Coast family, Jenny Dixon, Daryl Austin, Selma Ruth, Ace Pringle and family, Charmaine Henson, Russell Henson, Edie Hartshorn, Brian Andrews, Romaine Farrell, Chelsea Smallwood, Roger Sharon, Patty Garrett, Kathleen Martin, Anthony Leone, Iona Veal, Peter Hewitt and Madeline Ryder Hewitt, Judy Breslin, Chloe O'Gara, Christine Maltrude, Pete Fabiano, to all those suffering from the COVID virus in this country and all over the world, and to the safe passage of Helen Levy, Jay Semino, Vicki Smallwood, June Favor, Mike Laughlin, Amy Trussell, and to all those who have lost their lives in this global pandemic, and all those who have lost their lives in the suffering and violence that is present in this samsaric world. May they, together with us, know peace and healing through Buddha's way. Hi. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Christy. Welcome, Morgan. We haven't seen you for a while. Welcome, everybody we see and don't see and are here. And we know you're here whether we see you or not. I was thinking, I had the thought when we were sending loving kindness or in the form of compassion, being a gateway of compassion, is I all of a sudden had the thought that I so deeply trusted that each one of you, that's really where each one of us sets our hearts. It's that we really do want to embody and be and open to be a door of compassion. Doesn't mean that we don't forget, but our true heart. An announcement, just a reminder, precepts tonight, our monthly precepts. Is it the second or third? It must be the second because it's the 8th. It's the second Tuesday of each month from 6:45 to 7:45. Everyone is welcome. There's another link you can jump onto. Okay, let's do the before lecture chant. An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. So we've been wandering around in the Heart Sutra. Let's, Susan, if you can share the screen, let's just chant it together, then we'll go on from there. Heart of Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when deeply practicing Prajna Paramita, clearly saw that all 5 aggregates are empty and thus relieved all suffering. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself forms sensations, perceptions, formations, and consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked by emptiness. They neither arise nor cease, are neither defiled nor pure, neither increase nor decrease. Therefore, given emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no tongue, no body, no mind, No sight, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of mind consciousness. There is neither ignorance nor extinction of ignorance, neither old age and death, nor extinction of old age and death, no suffering, no cause, no cessation, no path, no knowledge, and no attainment, with nothing to attain. A bodhisattva relies on prajna paramita, and thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Far beyond all inverted views, one realizes nirvana. All Buddhas, past, present, and future, rely on prajna paramita and thereby attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore know the prajna paramita as the great miraculous mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, which removes all suffering and is true, not false. Therefore we proclaim the prajna paramita mantra, the mantra that says gate, gate, para gate, parsam gate, bodhisvaha. I highly recommend the practice of just chanting the Heart Sutra. Just let yourself wander in it. Let it wander in you. Let yourself get wet in it. Let the words soak in. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to know what it is. It's really a mantra. It's a condensing of the long Prajna Paramita Sutras. If you chant it for years, it becomes like your skin and bones and flesh. It begins to inform your whole life, and you don't even necessarily know what it is or what happened or is happening. So, as I've been saying, the Heart Sutra can be studied and should be studied, and we've done it in the past and we'll do it again in a much more scholarly way, because it is in this short chant, all of the basic Buddhist teachings are condensed into it. And it's a kind of antidote to, yes, please know these teachings, but don't take them too, well, it's not don't take them too seriously. Don't get attached to these either. Don't get attached to anything. But don't ignore it or think you can go around it either. So the phrase I wanted to pull forward this evening is actually Patty Garrett brought it up last week in our discussion at the end. With nothing to attain, a bodhisattva relies on prajna paramita, and thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. I got to talk to Patty today, and she said it was okay. I think some of you know is that Patty is, I think she called it in long haul COVID. Maybe that's one of the names of it, is this has been going on for a long time and taking different manifestations. And sitting with Patty really gave me a felt sense of, oh, we talk about COVID, but not many of us know people up close who are suffering, or who suffered with COVID and then are suffering with the rollout of the chronic conditions afterwards. And we hope, of course, for Patty and for everyone, that this is just part of the journey and that full recovery is on the other side. But so when Patty said that she'd been practicing with this phrase, it wasn't just out of nowhere. It's right in the center of what do we do in the midst of not feeling well, of fear, of symptoms. And how can we be fundamentally okay right in the midst of whatever is happening? So I wanted to start with, because we've been using different commentaries that just in wonderful timing showed up in the most recent edition of The Lion's Roar on the Heart Sutra. I wanted to read you from Zenju Earthling Manuel. She's a person of color, ordained by Blanche Hartman, transmitted by Blanche Hartman in our lineage, and a really beautiful teacher. And Zenju speaks from her own experience so deeply about suffering and the transformation of suffering. So I wanted to start with her commentary, called Door to Compassion. It's where I got my mantra today. The wisdom of the Heart Sutra, says Zenju Earthling Manual, opens our heart to all humanity. She says, our world is steeped in the greatest unknowing of our times. We scramble for answers, for safety, sanity, survival, and understanding of who we are. We are warriors, rebels, defenders, and peacemakers for what is sacred to us. Many will go to great lengths to save those who suffer. We may even promise to suffer as long as others are suffering. Often in such efforts, we are led into greater unknowing. Compassion may be difficult to come by, but I, Zenju says, found it in the wisdom of the Heart Sutra. The first time I chanted the Heart of Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra, it entered my soul as medicine. I felt a spontaneous relief from what weighed me down in life. This experience didn't last, though. I tried to hold on to it by getting a copy of the chant, but it was only the words that caused such expansion in that moment. The chanting was preceded by zazen, the bells, the makugyo, the drum, and the environment of the zendo, as it had prepared me for this experience. And as I chanted, it was not my voice alone, but the voices of others that moved me towards a glimpse of all life. That's kind of the beautiful thing about chanting on Zoom, is we have to have great faith. We have to open deeper ears to be able to see and know that we are all chanting together. The Heart Sutra, which pays homage to the mother of all Buddhas, Prajnaparamita. Prajnaparamita is the mother of all Buddhas. Actually, I'll have to bring, I don't have here a picture of her. She's beautiful. I'll bring her. Prajnaparamita marked my bones. Prajnaparamita marked my bones with an awareness that I no longer needed to hold the suffering I experienced as mine alone. I opened to the suffering of all humanity, including the suffering of ancestors and of those who had yet to be born. Compassion became a spontaneous experience, as opposed to a way of being or something I could give others depending on my capacity or willingness. Our struggles push us out beyond the familiar territory of life. In this unknown territory, the wisdom of the Heart Sutra invites us to consider the distinctions among us as portals of compassion. We only know life through each other. We only know life through each other. There are no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no sight, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of mind consciousness, until we experience our interrelationship with all beings. You can't know this alone. There is fundamentally no alone. This is coursing in Prajnaparamita. The compassion of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva or Kuan Yin, aroused in chanting the Heart Sutra, awakens us to the fact that we all share this life. When aspirants of love, we are all aspirants of love. Isn't that beautiful? Chant the Heart Sutra together. We are opening to the wisdom of our embodiment, which is form, and the boundless emptiness of life as one human experience. When we settle the breath on such wisdom, we enter the vastness of living. Zazen, the very act of settling the breath, riding the breath, is the gateway, it's the opening to Prajnaparamita, which is compassion. It's her very nature and our very nature. And when we can't breathe, the boundlessness of our life remains, no matter what is happening. COVID, no COVID, not being able to breathe, whatever your pain or sorrow or joy, she is always here. The boundlessness of our life, is always here. And Zenju concludes, thank goodness. We could say, thank goodness is thanking Prajnaparamita. So it says in the Heart Sutra, a bodhisattva relies on Prajnaparamita. We give ourselves to her each moment, the end of the exhale. She's right there. That's where the mind is without hindrance. And without hindrance, there is no fear. And in case you noticed, because we're alive, there's an inhale. And with the arising of each inhale, there is an arising of form, feeling, sensation, impulse, consciousness, which is our karmic life, which is not the problem. It's actually a gift. We just don't always receive it that way. It's the gift given to us through our own particular karmic impulses and patterns to wake up with. How else am I going to know compassion for you if I don't experience and come close to my own suffering? A kind of tenderness and curiosity and kindness towards the hindrances, towards being a human being. Here's a koan called The Old Woman's Hindrances. An old woman asked, I have a body with 5 hindrances. How can I escape them? I'm going to talk about the hindrances in a minute, but you can imagine hindrances gives you an idea that, well, it might be something that might hinder our being fully awake and compassionate. We wanted to view it that way. I have a body with the 5 hindrances. How can I escape them? And the master, Zhao said, pray that all people are born in heaven. And pray that you yourself drown eternally in a sea of hardships. Wow. You might say, pray that all beings be free from hindrances, be free from fear, and be willing to dive into the hindrances and fear over and over and over again, to wake up with and for all beings. It's that great big empty full circle. Be an aspirant of love, as Zenju says. Open to the wisdom of embodiment and form and the boundlessness of life as one human experience. So the hindrances, we've done this before, we'll do it again. I keep saying this, I love doing the same thing over and over again because each time it goes in a little deeper. It's like chanting the Heart Sutra over and over again. So what is this hindrance? So the hindrance is described as the workings of the mind. And here they are. You want to know what they are? Maybe you remember, maybe. Okay. First one is sensual desire. Second is ill will. Third, I love to do this just because I love saying the word sloth and torpor. I love the way it rolls around in your mouth. The fourth is restlessness and worry. And the fifth is doubt. It's not the great doubt we were talking about a few weeks ago. It's cynical doubt. So the way they're taught, the way they're listed, is they're taught in pairs. Really, Buddhism was an oral tradition, and so the monks would go out and teach, and so often there were lists, and there were ways to memorize them and to help other people memorize them in the teaching. So they're taught in pairs that are closely related. So desire, I want it, I want it. Ill will, I don't want it, I don't want it. Wanting or pushing away are paired. It's a sense of, we could say, radical dissatisfaction. There must be something better than this. Certainly something other than this. Sloth and torpor and restlessness and worry. You can feel how those are opposing tendencies involving different levels of energy or vitality. And doubt, the fifth, isn't specifically connected to any of them, but often entwined or intertwined or entangled with all of them, and can be the basis of it all, which is a lack of some deep trust of ground, not knowing who we are or what's going on and trying to figure it out. So we get tangled up, and the more we get tangled up, we can't really see what's happening. And then, of course, that sets off more and more. So the word hindrances in Sanskrit, it's a Sanskrit word, and the literal meaning is a wandering through. It's a little different than the wandering we're doing in the Heart Sutra, which is a wandering with a kind of intention to understand. This is a kind of wandering where you're pushed and pulled by everything. Wandering through cycles of birth and death. In Pali, early Buddhism, hindrance means a covering. That it's a covering of our true nature. And the intention was then, of course, to wake up, to be able to see through it, and to, in a certain way, I suppose you could say, get over it. If you could just see clearly enough, maybe you really could get rid of these hindrances. If you meditate hard enough, if you go off to a monastery and leave the world. Mahayana Buddhism came along as a kind of self-correction. Because you can imagine, the harder you try to get rid of something, often the harder it comes back at you. Mahayana Buddhism said, yes, please practice. But you know what? It's all Buddha. There's nothing to be getting over or to get rid of. Just rely on prajna paramita. Just give yourself each breath to her. There's nothing here that's a thing that you can grasp onto or push or pull. The very fact that you're doing that is what makes it a hindrance. And then you'll get exhausted, and then there'll be sloth and torpor, or maybe you'll get restless and worry that you didn't get it right, or you're not trying it hard enough. And then you'll doubt the whole thing. And then maybe you'll think, well, that was just really dumb. I think I'll go try something else now. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but you can see how this whole thing works. Dogen said, the fascicle manifestation of great prajna, our practice is simply a dynamic state of arriving at each moment in the circle of the way. Just coursing in prajna paramita, a great circle of in-breath and out-breath and birth and death. Studying the self and studying the mind for ourselves and for all beings, just because this is what being a human being is. There's nothing to get over here. But it can be transformed through compassion and wisdom. Here's a little commentary by Kaz Tanahashi about the Heart Sutra and this phrase. He says, being free from attainment, meaning not wanting it to be different than it is, bodhisattvas abide in prajna paramita and live with an unhindered mind. And here there is no fear. There's no fear. Where do you think you're going? What do you think is wrong? Just keep coming back. A bodhisattva is fearless because of the non-existence of thought enclosures. It's like you come up against a thought or a view or an opinion, and you just go, oh, hello, old friend, I know you. I think you're me. And then you watch yourself get tangled up a little bit, but maybe not as much as before, or maybe you do, or maybe you don't get tangled up in this moment. You just bow. And you just course all the way to the exhale, and the next inhale comes, and it's just life. A huge, beautiful circle of the way. We're just sitting right in the middle of it. Patty said to me today, I don't know if this is exactly what she said. Well, I think she said, but I don't know, maybe I made this up. Something like you're sitting right in the middle of this COVID body, feeling like shit. And you can also know that fundamentally it's okay. How can that be? But that's the body of practice. That's the place no fear exists, because it's all just moving, just life, just death, just coursing, living in faith and confidence in the process of life, appreciating being alive and not alone and with others, and alive and joined and open-hearted and peaceful. It's where we're free, and it's where we free all beings. It's in Genju's words, we just settle the breath on this wisdom. We entrust ourselves. You don't have to believe it. There's nothing to believe. It's an embodied, intimate experience. It's very close. Because right here is the boundlessness, right in the midst of thought enclosures everywhere. And we're just breathing right in the midst of it. And when I forget, you're breathing, which helps me breathe and remember to breathe. And when you forget, somebody next to you will be breathing. So that's how we free all beings. With nothing to attain, a bodhisattva relies on prajnaparamita. And thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. So I'm going to break us up into small groups. You can, of course, talk about whatever is present or whatever arises in this. But you might, bye, Patty. Take good care, sweetie. Rest well. Hindrances. Do you have some sense of maybe what your lead hindrance is in general in your life, or maybe what's up right now? The desire for something to be really different, or ill will, aversion, pulling away, closing down, anger. How about sloth and torpor? Are you exhausted? I think that's not unusual in this post-COVID time. Restlessness and worry, how's that going for you? And what about doubt? What are you doubting? How do you doubt yourself? The meaning of life? There's probably plenty of fruitful territory here in any of these, but maybe one jumps forward towards you. And what can you imagine this no fear is, this coursing? So that, or whatever feels alive for you.